other end of the table. Changing it up a bit. All right, it's we're not ready to go yet, but it is setting it up on YouTube. So just give me a second here. All right, Karen, it looks like it's streaming on YouTube. Do you want to give us the go ahead?
You're good to go.
All right, let me first let everyone in. And then when that happens, John, you can go ahead and start, okay? I'll let you know though. All right, John, we are all set.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Welcome to the October 13th, 2020 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and will be uploaded to the city's website after the meeting. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you place yourselves on mute as sound transfers easily and can be disruptive. Please note that there are several ways to submit comments during the meeting. You may send your comments by email to publiccomments@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring emails submitted during the meeting, which will be read at the appropriate time. The length of the emailed comment should be commensurate with the 3 minutes or 2 minutes customarily allowed for verbal comments. You may also submit your comment using the chat in Zoom by clicking on the chat button located at the bottom of your screen. Staff will then read the comment at the appropriate time. Lastly, you may raise your hand in the Zoom by clicking on the participant button located at the bottom of your screen, then click raise hand. Members of the public who are participating in Zoom meeting by phone can dial *9 to raise their hand. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that 4 members of the commissioners are present this evening. Chair Say, Vice Chair Taronis, and Commissioner Camarado are absent. We understand that Chair Say may be joining the meeting later this evening. Moving on to item number 3, approval of minutes. We have meeting minutes to review and approve from the September 14th, 2020 regular Planning Commission meeting. Are there any comments, changes, or discussions regarding the meeting, regarding the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
The motion is made by Commissioner Sargent, or no, sorry, Commissioner Loftus, and approved by Commissioner Sargent.
The reverse.
Is there any further discussion? And I got it wrong, didn't I, guys? Maybe when it counts, I'll get it right. Okay, with no further discussion, can we get a roll call vote?
Sure, Commissioner Gall.
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus.
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent.
Aye.
Acting Chair Schmid.
Aye. Okay. Moving
And
on.
that motion passes 4-0-0-3.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, staff would like to note that item 8C, 30 Ingold Road, has been moved to the last item on the agenda. So that'll take place after item 9B. Staff would also like to note that item 9A, 29 Humboldt Road, has been continued to the October 26th meeting. Those are all the changes we have.
Great. And do we have any recusals this evening? Okay, seeing none, then do I have a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
Do we need to approve that or can we just go?
Yeah, actually, we don't need a motion on this,
All
case, so we can continue.
Okay, then we can move forward. We don't have any items for, oh, no. Item number 5, public comments. Members of the public may speak about any item that is not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future Planning Commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency opening meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. A timer will sound at the end of the time. I may adjust the time in light of the number of anticipated speakers. Please speak clearly and into the microphone. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on any item that is not on our agenda?
I don't see any hands raised, Acting Chair Schmidt, and also there are no chats and no emails submitted either.
Perfect. Moving on to item number 6, study items. There are no study items for this evening. Moving on to item number 7, consent calendar. There are no consent calendar items. Moving on to agenda item number 8, regular action items. We have 100 Costa Rica Avenue, item number 8A. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Okay, let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
Yes, this project includes a remodel and first and second story addition to the existing house at 100 Costa Rica Avenue, zoned R1. The existing accessory structure will be replaced with the new 455 square foot detached garage in the same location on the lot. The proposed house and detached garage, which will total 2,882 square feet, where 3,504 square feet is the maximum allowed. The applicant is requesting the following applications: design review, conditional use permit for a half bath in a detached accessory structure, and a conditional use permit for enclosing pool equipment within the detached accessory structure located within 10 feet of property line. At the design review study meeting on July 13th, the commission provided recommendations for the project and referred the application to a design review consultant. The design review consultant worked with the applicant to address the commission's concerns and is recommending approval of the project as proposed. This concludes my summary of the staff report. I believe the applicant is in attendance, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Is Mr. Gleason here in attendance?
Sorry,
we're
we've-
figuring out the mute.
That's okay.
We've had very productive sessions with the design review consultant and have made adjustments to the drawings responsive to your comments from the last meeting. And we note that both staff and design review consultants are supportive of the project, and we're open to questions now. I do want to make it very clear that we do have a licensed architect who will be doing the actual permit set construction drawings along with a structural engineer.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I had a question. It's Commissioner Sargent. So what, have you selected the windows you're going to be using on the project yet?
As far as a manufacturer, you mean?
Well, or a manufacturer or a little more, yeah, let's start. Have you chosen a manufacturer on it?
No, we'll put that out to bid. We have used these windows before on other projects. They're very cost effective as well as extremely good looking and very high energy qualifications. They are a dark anodized bronze aluminum with divided lights.
Okay, so is it
Double
typically,
pane.
okay, typically what we look for a project like this is either simulated true divided lights or true divided lights. Is that what you had in mind?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, maybe you could note that on the plans. That would be great.
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, moving on to Commissioner Loftus.
Yeah, I just had one question. I wanted to follow up on the comment that licensed architect and structural engineer will be doing the permit drawings, which is great. Sometimes what happens when an architect or a structural engineer gets involved is what's been proposed as a design is found to be unfeasible for some reason, and what that would mean for us from our point of view is that it might come back to us with changes that are potentially significant when a structural engineer or an architect gets involved. So the question I want to sort of get some comfort on is, are you pretty confident that what you've drawn here can be built?
Absolutely. We've already worked with the architect
Okay,
and
good.
the structural.
That's a
engineer.
perfect
Yeah,
answer.
they're involved with
Okay,
the drawings.
Yeah, they're
That's great. I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure because you can see, well, thank you. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yes, the answer is yes. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Gall.
Yeah, I had two questions actually. The first is on the chimney. That's going to be stuccoed? Is that correct?
Yes.
yes.
And did you consider just continuing that in brick as opposed to just
No.
stuccoing over it?
No, because we felt that it would chop up the element of the elevation.
And you don't think that vertical element of the chimney would do the same thing?
No, we
Is that-
don't. We really like this design and we feel it's very clean and works with the structure.
Okay, then my second question is on the roofing material. You have it as a concrete tile. Do you have a
Correct.
sample of that?
Yes.
Was that provided? I didn't see it.
No, we didn't. We weren't asked to, but who's the,
It's eagle tile. It's a very common roof tile that's used on a lot of houses that are already in the neighborhood. And
I don't know.
it's nothing terribly unique. We like the texture. We like the fireproofing. We like the coloration, which is very neutral. I'm sorry?
Flat tile or
It's flat.
is it a
Flat.
flat tile or is it
It's a flat tile.
okay?
It looks like big shingles.
Was
I'm
Your-
sorry, you're
that
breaking
you-
up on us.
tile. It came back. They kind of put it in without. It really didn't look concrete.
You're breaking up on us. We can't hear you.
I'm is that better?
Yes.
Well,
Is that better?
Yeah,
What I'm wondering is
Yeah,
if we
that's
could,
a little better.
or if you could provide an address where that tile's been used, just as an FYI, probably if this gets approved, and I think that would be sufficient.
can we send you a photograph
Well,
Um,
of where it's used?
no, he wants it for the record, right? I mean, at this point.
Would a photograph of a house with it on?
yeah, I suppose that would be fine, and if you could provide the address,
Sure.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, do we have any further questions from the commission? Okay. With that, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Okay. I don't see any. Do we have any emails or chats or anything?
No chats, no emails on this one.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any comments? Commissioner Loftus?
Yeah, I would just say thank you to the applicant for working with the design review consultant and addressing all the concerns. I think it's an interesting design. I'm much more comfortable with it this time than I was the last time. If for no other reason than the drawings are more consistent and the design's more coherent. You know, I think it's a very interesting project. It's got a sort of rambly feel to it, and I think it will fit well in the neighborhood. And I'll be interested to see it built. So, you know, pending further conversation, I would move that we approve the project.
Yeah, I would second that and would ask the maker of the motion if he'd consider adding a condition of approval, but that the windows include simulated true divided light, and that we get either a sample or a picture and address of the roof material as an FYI.
Agreed. I will make that modification to my motion.
I'll
second it again.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the condition. We ready for a roll call?
Commissioner Gall,
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus,
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent, Commissioner Sargent, might be on mute. There we go. And Acting Chair Schmidt.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 4-0-0-3.
Okay. Moving on to item.
If you
Yes.
can read the appeal procedures.
Sorry, you're right. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $1,075, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8B,
That's not me, right?
3 Cananea Place. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record show, note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
Sure. The applicant is proposing to expand the main level along the left and rear of the house, and also to construct a new deck at 3 Cananea Place, zoned R1. Due to the slope on the lot, the main level and portions of the new deck are more than 6 feet above grade and therefore are considered to be a second-story addition. The proposed project would increase the total floor area to 3,742 square feet, where 3,752 square feet is the maximum allowed. The applicant is requesting the following applications: design review and hillside area construction permit. At the Planning Commission Design Review Study Meeting on September 14th, the Commission had a few comments regarding the project and also required story poles to be installed. The applicant submitted revised plans and a response letter, date stamped September 29th, summarizing the changes made to the plans since the Design Review Study Meeting. Story poles were installed on September 28th. This concludes my staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those. Otherwise, I believe the applicant is in attendance.
Commissioners, do we have any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Yes, hello. I'm Stan Panko, architect, and I'm pleased to bring this back to you. As you can see, the elevations have gone through a window overhaul all the way around. We've cleaned a lot of things up, gotten rid of a number of windows that were not really applicable for the project. They were existing windows that had been there for a while. So we're quite pleased with the outcome and hope you are too. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Seeing none, I will open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak?
Yes, my name is Martha Laboissiere. I am the neighbor on 1 Cananea Place. I sent an email, which I believe has been added. I understand that everything is according to expectation. I would just highlight recognizing that the house is now moving much closer to my property, and I understand it is within the limits imposed or proposed by the commissioners, and so I understand that there's nothing wrong with it. But my ask was just if, as part of the plan, if the architect / owner could put a green fence on their side of the property. Unfortunately, it can't be done on my side because it's concrete. Put a green fence that would provide privacy both to them and to us, particularly because one of their windows is facing right into my house, which means that it's decreasing privacy for both of us, quite frankly. And so the request is that they plant a hedge on their side with a few asks, that this hedge be green year round, that it doesn't make a mess, that it is not ivy, just because it is a wooden fence, and so it would destroy the fence, and that it gets maintained in such a way that it preserves the greenery around all of us, and it preserves the view towards the southeast of the properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Do we have any emails or chats?
There are no chats and no emails.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments?
I'm happy to start. Commissioner Sargent, I like the project. I think they've made the changes that we requested of them in the last meeting. And I think it's approvable. The only thing I'd ask is that they work with a neighbor to come up with a solution on that left side that works for both of them. And I'm happy to make a motion unless somebody else wants to say something.
Well, let's give Commissioner Loftus a moment here.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Sargent. I think the changes to the project are a big improvement. I'm, not really enamored of the 4 square windows. They seem sort of cartoonish, but it's fine. They are simulated true divided light, or as the report says, true divided light. I suspect it is meant to be simulated true divided light, but either one will work. So, I agree in everything else with Commissioner Sargent. I think that the ask by the neighbor is a perfectly reasonable one, and seems like they ought to be able to work that out.
Would either of you like to make that motion?
Oh, I will, yes, I will make that motion, I guess so. I move that we approve the project, and we, it would be nice. I don't think we can sort of direct neighbors to talk to each other. So we can ask that, we can suggest, I guess, that it might be a good idea for the applicant and the architect, owner and architect, to have a discussion with the neighbor. But I move that we approve the project.
Okay, do we have a second?
I guess I don't feel like we can direct the neighbors to talk, but I think it's a reasonable ask what the neighbor's asking. So I would, even if they don't talk, I would like to have part of the motion be that we ask that the applicant address those concerns and come back with an FYI showing how they are, whether they talk to them or not.
That seems like a reasonable suggestion. I didn't think to make it, so I will modify my motion accordingly.
I'll second that.
Perfect. We have a motion by Commissioner Loftus and a second by Commissioner Sargent. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner.
Yeah, I really didn't look as closely as I did until I read the applicant's letter and heard her speak. But the landscape plan really doesn't seem very developed. So I think it's a reasonable request to have that hedge, and maybe a landscape plan could come back. I mean, I don't see really anything on it, to be honest with you. Maybe if we could have a landscape plan come back as an FYI. I mean, I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think the project looks great, and I don't want to hold it up. But if the site was developed as the landscape plan shows, I see existing lawn and ground cover, and then an existing hedge at the front and one oak tree. I think that's probably not going to be the way it ends up. But it seems like it could be developed a little bit more, at least at that hedge area or something.
Well, the site, I'm willing to make that modification to ask for a landscape plan for the project. The project certainly needs some landscaping. So I will amend my motion further and hope that my second will follow.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think Commissioner Gauss made a good point, because I think in walking that site when this first came up, I'm not sure I'd call what's in the front yard lawn. So I'm hoping we're going to upgrade from there, since I had to pick the stuff out of my pants afterwards. So that would be great.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Loftus, the second by Commissioner Sargent, and I agree with my fellow commissioners. So can we have a vote?
Commissioner Gall.
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus.
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent.
Aye.
Acting Chair Schmid.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0-0-3.
An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $1,075, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations. Okay, we are now to item 8C, which has been pushed to the end of the agenda for any of you who didn't hear earlier. So we're going to now move on to 8D. Proposed amendments to Chapter 25 for the North Rollins Road mixed use regulations and the North Burlingame mixed use district.
Yes, thank you. And I will hand this over to Community Development Director Kevin Gardner. He'll present the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Interim zoning chapters for the North Rollins Road Mixed Use District and North Burlingame Mixed Use District were adopted in January 2019 at the same time as the new general plan. Overall, the regulations appear to be working, as there have been a number of development projects reviewed under the zoning since it was adopted. However, there have been two administrative issues that need to be addressed. First, the interim chapters were adopted through an urgency ordinance and as such can only remain in place for a total of 24 months. And we're quickly closing in on those 24 months. The second is that the zoning needs to be approved by the Airport Land Use Commission for consistency with the Comprehensive Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan. While the general plan was approved for consistency in 2019, we were not able to have the zoning reviewed since it was adopted on an interim basis. So the result has been that each new development application within the North Rollins Road and North Burlingame mixed use districts has needed to be individually reviewed by the Airport Land Use Commission and or have a number of conditions attached that would be better placed in the zoning regulations, all of which become a burden for pretty much everybody concerned. So at this stage, this is really more of a housekeeping exercise in addressing these two immediate concerns. In the ordinance before you, no changes have been made other than to add the regulations or the requirements requested by the airport and the Airport Land Use Commission. This is not to say that further changes can't be made in the future. We anticipate that there could be revisions as part of the zoning ordinance update, as well as possibly the North Rollins Road specific plan, which the commission weighed in on in the last meeting. However, while both of these processes are underway and making good progress, they won't be ready within the time frame of the interim zoning expiring. So at this point, we've drafted an ordinance that responds to these immediate needs. The ordinance will be acted on by the City Council. So in this meeting, we're looking for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation. And with that background, I am available for questions of staff.
Okay, fellow commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay, I see Commissioner Loftus.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm understanding what I'm reading, what I just heard. And that what I understood you to say was, or what I understood what I understood when I read this was that no changes have been made to the interim plan except for the modifications required for compliance with the other two agencies. So is that right,
correct.
Kevin?
So if you look at, and we gave, there's in the staff report, there's one version of the zoning which shows the track changes, and you'll see most of the changes are either in a right-hand column of the tables where it gets into things like, they're mostly related to assemblies and uses that are considered sensitive within these zones. And then there's another section at the very end which has a lot of kind of disclosure information and verbiage that the airport wanted to have included in the zoning.
So the only thing what I want to get at is the only thing that keeps this from being ministerial is that we have this procedural requirement to go through Planning Commission and go through. Other than that, it's would be ministerial, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we've kind of, it's tempting to sort of open the whole thing up and say, well, let's make all the changes. But in this case, we're just saying, yeah, it's something, it does need to go through the Planning Commission as it is zoning. Certainly if there's questions or wording improvements that could be made. But these are kind of, it's really more about the Airport Land Use Commission requirements and then just having something on the books that's not internal.
And the fact that the airport land use requirements are not in our purview, we can't challenge them. So if we don't want to change anything and we can't challenge them, then okay, I understand what needs to happen.
Yeah, it's ideally we like to have more for you to talk about. This is and there will be, so we promise there'll be another opportunity to really get into the fun design stuff. In this case, it's really sort of a housekeeping exercise.
But we do have to have a public hearing.
We do.
Is a requirement. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gall.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, Kevin. So in Exhibit 2 on Chapter 25.4, on page 5, and this is just a clarification, public and quasi-public uses, public assembly facilities are not allowed. What would be considered a public assembly facility? I'm not sure how that differs from some of the other public and quasi-public uses.
Maybe like a concert hall or even a city council chambers, basically anywhere where there's large numbers of people congregating, assembling.
Okay, but that's not to say that someone couldn't have an art in the park or something at one of the public parks or something, right?
Yeah, no, I mean that if it's a a special event, that's a little different. It's more. I think what they're really concerned about are kind of long-term assemblies of people, whether it be schools, theaters, all of those things seem to have in common just large numbers of people. So yeah, it's not to prevent special events, but they don't want to have something every day where it's a permanent use.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any further questions? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Okay, and do we have any emails or chats or anything else?
I don't see any emails or chats regarding this item.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments or motions?
Well, based on my questions and my understanding of Kevin's answers, it doesn't feel like we have a whole lot to do, and it wouldn't feel like a productive use of our time to dig into something we have no business digging into right now. That being the case, I would move that we recommend these changes to council.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Loftus and a second by Commissioner Sargent. Is this a voting opportunity or not a voting opportunity?
It is a voting opportunity.
Okay, well then let's have a vote.
Commissioner Gall,
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus,
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent,
Aye.
Acting Chair Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0-0-3.
And this is not appealable as it is a recommendation to the city council.
Perfect. Okay, now moving on to agenda item number 9, design review studies. Item 9A has been continued to a future meeting for the October 26th commission meeting. So moving on to item 9B, 1523 Chapin Avenue. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Okay, let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
Sure. The applicant is proposing to demolish an existing one-story single-family dwelling and attached garage and build a new two-story single-family dwelling, detached garage, and accessory dwelling unit at 1523 Chapin Lane, zoned R1. The total proposed floor area would be 3,728 square feet, or 3,832 square feet is the maximum allowed. As noted, the project includes building a new 789 square foot ADU at the rear of the site, attached to the new garage. Review of the ADU application is administrative only and is not reviewed by the Planning Commission. Staff has determined that the ADU complies with the recently adopted ADU ordinance. The applicant is requesting the following applications: design review and special permit for a declining height envelope along the left side of the house. I would note that the applicant provided a certified arborist report, which is shown on the plans and I believe also attached to your staff report. There are 2 protected size trees that currently exist at the rear of the site, including one 42.9-inch diameter redwood tree and also a 31.1-inch diameter oak tree, which are proposed to be removed as part of this application. A protected tree removal permit has been applied for by the property owner for the removal of these trees, since they are located within the footprint of the proposed detached garage and ADU. The notes from our city arborist, from the Burlingame City Arborist, note that a tree removal permit is required. And it is his intention is to issue the tree removal permit because it's within the footprint of the building. And it would only be issued upon approval of the project by the Planning Commission. If you have any questions regarding the project, I'm here for that, and the applicant is also here. Thank you.
Great. Do we have any questions for staff at this point, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to open up the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about the project?
Hi, my name is Johnson Kwan. I am the current owner of that property. Just a couple of introduction points. I'm going to be planning to live at that house with the new project with my wife, Megan Lee Young, and our son, Cameron. We are both emergency room physicians. We've been working in the Bay Area, ranging from San Francisco all the way down to the Los Gatos area. We're kind of typical in terms of the family that usually moves down to the peninsula. We've lived in San Francisco for quite a while, but for school reasons, we elected to move down here to the peninsula. We are currently living in Hillsborough and have enrolled our son in the North School. Our intention was to get him into a good school that the public system here can provide. But ultimately, I think at the end of his education here in Hillsborough, I think our intentions are to move down to the Burlingame area. For many reasons, we really love the area, the location where it's at, the convenience. The reason for the current design is that we intend to use this property as our primary residence, but also have both my parents and my in-laws move in with us. Hence, we needed that additional space for the ADU in the back for my in-laws to move into, and extra rooms and downstairs on the main floor, the first floor, so that my parents can live in there. To minimize the footprint on the lot itself, we elected to go with a colonial style so that we can maximize the interior space. That way, we can afford to have, proper living spaces for 3 generations of family members in that one house. We have also talked to several of our neighbors on both sides and the neighbor directly behind us. The neighbors on both sides are happy with the project and did not have any voice concerns at this time. The neighbor directly behind us did have concerns in terms of a new project being built, concerns with both privacy and also drainage. I think those issues have been addressed by my architect and design, James Chu. And if you have any questions, you can direct those to him. But it sounds like a fence would be built in the back that provides both privacy for myself and my neighbor in the back. And the elevation and grading of the house will show that all drainage would be going forward towards Chapin and not to the rear of the property.
So I'm just gonna add that, my name is Megan Leong. Johnson is my husband. And I just wanted to add that we love Burlingame. Burlingame is the greatest community for its environment, the people. In addition, geographically speaking, we both work in San Francisco, from San Francisco to Palo Alto to San Jose. So geographically speaking, it's halfway to our workplace in the north and south. So, that's another reason why we want to live in Burlingame. And in addition, as our parents get older, hospital becomes important, and Mills Peninsula is also very close by. And the shops are very close to Chapin, walking distance for our aging parents. So for many reasons, we love Burlingame, we love the Chapin property. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other, does your architect wish to speak?
Yeah. Hi. I also like to add that one of our neighbor also submitted an email regarding the tree on the right, the redwood tree. I guess at one point he was building an ADU and he cut off a lot of roots on the right side of the tree. So he felt that tree is an hazard to the neighborhood. So he's obviously support the tree removal, and the house. Anyway, I'd like to answer any question you may have.
Great. Commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Gall?
Yeah, this is to the applicant and to the architect. You know, a lot of times we see trees and they're plunked down in the middle of a lot, and so it becomes pretty obvious that to develop the site, you'd have to remove them. These two trees, on the other hand, seem to be in perfect spots on the edges of the property. And I was looking at the site plan, and I thought, you know, it's almost a perfect opportunity to create a rear yard for the ADU if it was pulled forward, or if the garage was pulled forward, or, you know, maybe not both trees, maybe just the oak tree if the redwood tree is damaged. But I mean, I don't know, had you thought about that at all and trying to salvage the tree?
John, you want to answer that, or should I? Well, we actually discussed that, and I mean, if you look at the site plan on the sheet 8.2.1, our stone patio is very limited between the house and the ADU. It's all due to the this large front setback that we have to comply. If we design the ADU to avoid the oak tree, I think that the ADU will probably lose about 10 feet on the left, and also have to push forward about 10 feet or 15 feet, which it will you know, make the outdoor space very, very limited. So yeah, we had discussion and we looked at it, but and they felt very strongly that that trees perhaps should be removed, and we can always, you know, plant new trees at the rear of the ADU and also along the right and the left side if needed.
Okay, yeah, I mean, because I see like on the landscape plan and behind the ADU, you've got some planting, obviously, to give them more of a view than just a fence. That's why I thought, oh, it might be a good opportunity to create a small enclosed yard back there. But anyways, I just thought, thanks.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, Michael, there's no door. If you look at the ADU floor plan, there's kitchen windows and bathroom window. There's only access through the garage, just for maintenance, because we
get
have
it. It would mean reconfiguring both of those buildings most likely. I just something I just saw that and I thought I hate cutting down an old oak tree like that, but I'll wait for other input from other commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael, I just want to say, yes, we totally talked about maybe preserving that tree. And as a novelist, I thought, hey, maybe we can just move the whole property and shift everything forward, as in move the main house forward so we can still maintain somewhat of a distance between the ADU and the main property itself. But I was informed by James that, you know, there are certain rules that we cannot push the house any more forward to a certain limit between the neighbor's house. And hence it would then prevent us to actually kind of help preserve the tree and yet maintain somewhat of a distance between the ADU and the main property in the back. I would have loved if we could have just moved the main house and the whole property, the whole project forward several feet into the front of the property itself and the property line itself. But apparently that's not going to be allowed just by the codes that are currently present.
Yeah, on the staff report, it looks as if you could move the house 2 feet forward. Your proposed front setback is 22'9" and the allowed is 20'9". So you could gain 2 feet there. Again, I'll wait to hear from my other commissioners if they have any strong feelings on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't see the hands, but did Commissioner Loftus or Sergeant there you go. Commissioner Loftus, you're up.
Yeah, bear with me for a minute. I'm going to ask a couple of arcane questions here. This is about the pediment at the mid-wall entry on the right elevation. It took me a while to figure out that the pediment, the columns in the pediment are flush or nearly flush with the wall. That's correct, right?
Correct.
on the right-hand side. They're sticking out 8 inches or 10 inches or something like that, maybe less. And then the opening behind doesn't fill the space between the two columns. There's a wing wall that slides behind the column on the right-hand side and extends out. And then the opening is some sub area of the total area between the two columns, and which seems very odd to me. And then it leads me to ask the very arcane question I'm going to ask. Are you using some sort of classical proportioning system that would lead you to not skinny that up and reduce the pediment and clarify that opening somehow? It's a very odd thing. It's a very odd thing to do.
We could definitely look into it and modify it.
I mean, in the end, I just, it doesn't really matter, but it's everything else is so sort of exquisitely ordered that
Yes.
seems a little odd.
I agree. And also the door's not in the center.
Yeah.
That looks kind of odd too.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was deliberate, if you were setting rules that you then decided to break, which is a very architectural thing to do, or if it was just you hadn't sorted it through yet.
It's probably drawn an error.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And anything from you, Commissioner Sargent?
The only question I had, James, was about the windows. It notes that you're doing wood windows. Is that correct?
Let me look at the plan, because we typically use aluminum clad wood. Yeah, it should be
I'm
aluminum.
looking at A4 front elevation in the bottom left, showing the front left window there. It says double glazing wood double hung window. So
yeah, it should be aluminum clad.
Okay. All right. That's the only thing I had.
Okay. I had a couple questions. When I visited the site, I noticed some rather tall trees on the left side between your house and the neighbor's house. I don't know if it's trees as much as really high shrubs, but it seemed to provide a nice privacy because your neighbor on the left actually has a fairly tall 2-story right there too. And you're going to be building a fairly sizable 2-story surface there too. And, just looking at the landscape plan, I'm seeing more, low bushes, shrubs, etc. Is there an opportunity to save that, or are they on your property or their neighbors? And is there an opportunity to maybe save that and kind of help shield you guys from each other?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And then, picking up on Commissioner Gall's, as much as I like the trees, I understand the configuration in the back, but I also, between the concrete driveway and then the stone patio, I can see a lot of hard surface back there. And I'm wondering if there an opportunity to go with something or some design in the middle that has a bit more permeability, maybe does incorporate a tree that enables you to get a little bit more shade in there. I could just see that with all of that stone surface, it could be a hot box back there.
Yes, we definitely will look into it. Yes, thank you. Yeah. I agreed.
Okay, so that I think concludes our questions. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Hi there. My name is Bob Gilligan, and I live at 1518 Burlingame Avenue, which is diagonally adjacent to the rear of the property on the left side. So you got the left rear diagonal. And so it was clear to me, obviously, in looking at these plans, that the construction itself would require the removal of heritage trees, the very tall heritage redwood tree, which is the right in the rear corner, and the large heritage oak, which is on the rear third of the lot to the left side, pretty close to the property line. So I'm not a tree specialist, but I think everybody knows that redwoods and oaks are native to the area, native to the peninsula. And clearly, these are huge trees, so they're very old. So I would imagine these trees are at least 100 years old, and were likely growing before Burlingame Park, which is Burlingame's oldest neighborhood, was even subdivided, which occurred the early part of the 20th century. So these, I think these are original trees, probably predate any development on that property. I also want to point out, these are pretty much the largest trees on the block. The redwood is very tall. There aren't a lot of redwoods in the neighborhood, but we do have some, and they're very nice to have. And it seems to me, well, these trees are providing a significant amount of greenery and to the neighborhood. And if we remove them and replace it with what's pretty much mostly hardscape, it seems to me this would be a really big loss for the neighborhood and also Burlingame as well. It seems to me that also we did get a notification from the arborist that there was an application to have these trees removed. It indicated to us that the application had not been approved. But it seems to me, since these trees are at the periphery of the project, there must be some way we can design them into the project. And it seems to me this would really improve the project to have these beautiful trees included, not detract it, but keep the project in keeping with the design of the Burlingame Park neighborhood. I said the oldest neighborhood in Burlingame, and also in keeping with Burlingame's identity as the city of trees. We hear a lot about Burlingame as the city of trees. So it seems to me we should really try as hard as we can to avoid cutting down these beautiful old trees. That's all I had. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Gilligan. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak at this time?
Can I make a comment? It's Johnson Kwan again.
Ruben, I guess we're still in the public hearing portion, right? So
yes, let's wait to see if any other members of the public wish to speak, and then you can follow up with the comments. And let's see, in terms of chats, I see no chats. There was one email that came in, but that was Mr. Gilligan who just spoke. So I see no other emails.
Okay. Then, barring anybody else, then I guess we can give Mr. Kwan his say again.
Oh, I just wanted to add that for Bob, I totally understand the beauty of a redwood tree, and it is a very gorgeous tree. I just wanted to bring up, apparently there was an email that was supposed to be sent by the neighbor by the name of John Vega. I believe he's also on this chat right now.
To Mr. Hurin.
To Mr. Hurin.
And Michelle.
Regarding the tree. One thing I have found is that currently living in Hillsborough, in the house that we actually had the property damaged by one of these beautiful oak trees that are there. Where during the storm, I think 2 years ago, it fell and crushed our den in the back. Having gone through that experience, we're talking to the neighbors' insurance policies and trying to figure out who's actually going to be responsible for this. I was very taken aback when the insurance company literally say that this is literally just an act of God. There's no responsibility from the owner's property or the owner's insurance to deal with this. With that said, I bring this up only because when the ADU was built on the property, which is on the left of us, where abuts the redwood tree, when they built the foundation for the ADU, they did dig down far enough that the owner had told me specifically that they had to remove all of the roots that are present on that side of the property line itself. The owner of that property who did the ADU had brought up to the previous owner of the property that they would willing to offer to remove the redwood tree for concerns of the roots being destroyed and it potentially being a hazard of any sort of the viability of the tree itself. The owners declined and the tree has currently still remained. I'm just concerned that, yes, I would love to have such a beautiful tree present. It offers wonderful shade. I'm just concerned that with any future storms that we've had, the big winds and such, and the lot of rain, which has surprisingly quite a bit for Burlingame within the last 2 years, the soil saturation, the lack of the stability of one side of the roots being there, I'm just really concerned that, you know, God forbid I build this brand new house, 5 years into it, I get smashed by this redwood tree. That's my concern, or it's smashed on other properties around that area.
So it's the concern of ours and the concern of the neighbor next to us, Mr. Vega.
So that's why we had petitioned for that. In regards to the petition for the previous petition for the removal of the tree, we were very novice in the project process itself. We had barely gotten the architect. We were still talking with certain people, and we didn't even have the plan completely talked through and written out. And somebody advised us to, why don't you go ahead and just start with the permit itself so we can get the process going, not knowing that, yes, you know, this would be such a hurdle. So I think the permit that was requested for the removal of the tree before the plan was set in motion was premature, and it was my fault.
Just to provide clarification, we did receive an email from Mr. Vega, the next door neighbor. It was received after 6 p.m. this evening. It was forwarded to all the planning commissioners' emails, but I'm not sure if you had a chance to review that yet. We will include a copy of the email as an attachment when it comes back for action.
Okay.
Can I respond? Just one thing I might suggest. I wasn't aware of any damage to that tree. It definitely looks healthy, but you know, obviously, I do not want a huge tree like that falling down in our neighborhood either. But it seems like this is, you know, this question probably is something that a professional arborist could answer. You know, was the damage that Mr. Vega did to the roots, is it likely to be fatal, or is this something that the tree can is still safe? I'm sure, you know, arborists get this kind of question all the time, and I think, you know, I'm not an arborist, and so like nobody else here is. So it might be worth having a professional arborist actually determine whether that tree is safe or not. If there's any possibility that we could design it into the incorporate it into the design. I think it is the closest to the property line as I recall. You know, it's literally in the corner. So if between those two trees, I'd imagine that would be the easier to incorporate, just because it's consuming such a small percentage of the property. Anyway, it's just my suggestion.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. Unless we have other members of the public, I'm going to close the public hearing. And commissioners, do we have any comments on this project? Commissioner Loftus.
Commissioner Loftus, if you can unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to start, sorry about that. I'd like to start with the trees since that's where we stopped. And I'm looking at sheet A2A in the set. And I would read a summary from Kelty arborist that all of the tree roots were cut at the property line 3 feet from the trunk of the tree. The root cutting has caused the tree to be susceptible to wind throw, and future failure is expected. So the arborist seems to think that there's future failure expected on this tree. The other thing I would say, I know everybody loves redwood trees, but I spent about 1.5 years helping to entitle a large property, a large project in the Bay Area, where I heard arborist after arborist after arborist say that these coast redwood trees are not native to this area. Specifically, they're native to high fog areas. And this is not one of those high fog areas. They get their water from the air, and they have been transplanted into neighborhoods all across the state, and they have very, very shallow root structures. So, you know, they're really not meant to do with them what we do with them. You know, they belong on the coast in heavy fog, and that's their native habitat. So, you know, I'll leave it at that. The arborist seems to think it's going to fail. I would say that, you know, this project, this style of project is not my cup of tea. And and this sort of project, this sort of heavily stylistic, you know, period stylistic project can get pretty cheesy, but this is a really well done project. I mean, it's as I said earlier, it feels exquisitely ordered to me, and the attention to detail is really, really impressive. So, you know, it feels like that Mr. Chu has jumped in with both feet on this, you know, and I don't know, it's hard to argue with this kind of project. It's, as I say, it's not my cup of tea, but it feels like it fits into the neighborhood, and it feels like it will be quite a, you know, it'll be a piece of work. So I like it. I think it's really, really well done, with the exception of the challenge on the pediment at the right side. But
Thank you. Commissioner Gall.
Yeah, I would echo Commissioner Loftus's comments on the house. I think it's very well done. Although, you know, this style of house is going to have a big face to it, although I think that the neighborhood can handle that. So yeah, I like the design of the house. But I would like to go back to the comment by Chair Schmidt that, you know, the amount of paving between the garage, the ADU, and the house seems to be an awful lot. And it sort of goes back again to my comment about maybe making a yard area or using the oak tree specifically. I agree with Commissioner Loftus. Redwood trees are a mess, and I've actually had them cut down on some projects because they just created a ton of problems with roofs and gutters and a buildup on the ground. However, I think if the oak tree could be salvaged, I think that would be great. The redwood tree in the arborist report is the one that says that future failures are expected. However, the oak tree doesn't say that. So I don't know. I think if you could just look at that backyard and landscape plan and give it another pass, I think maybe we can get a good resolution to that. But overall, the design of the house, I think, is approvable.
Thank you. Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, I like this project as well. I would agree with the comment about the hardscape in back. I think that's worth a second look. Having said that, I think this is a great candidate for the consent calendar, and I'd move we bring it back on consent. And before I pass the mic, one other thing, they're asking for a CUP for the declining height envelope on the left side, and I would agree with their findings in the application. That's a CUP that we see for this design, and we typically approve it because it's very hard to do this design without the CUP. So I find it supportable as well.
I would second your motion without modification.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Sargent and a second from Commissioner Loftus. Are there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Gall.
Yeah, you know, I'm halfway with you guys on that one. I just kind of see that if there is going to be some salvaging of some of that landscaping and a reworking of the hardscape in the back, that potentially could mean moving the ADU and or the garage. So I'm not sure if I am 100% in on consent calendar. But I mean, I can always be outvoted too. There's 4 of us.
So I would like to weigh in on that as well. I agree with Commissioner Gall. I think there's some opportunity in the back that I think that the applicant and architect can work on a little bit. And it would be nice for us to be able to see that and comment on that on a future agenda item, rather than having it on a consent and then having to pull it if we don't see what we like. So commissioners, would you be willing to modify?
One question, I have one question for staff, and that is ADUs are outside of our purview. So we're asking that to look at the site and not the ADU. Would that be the request?
That's correct. Whether it was an ADU or a detached garage or some other sort of structure, you can still look at it as a concern about the site, not necessarily a concern of that particular structure.
I mean, I'm happy to modify the motion, but I'll be honest, I was satisfied with the applicant's explanation about moving it forward and what that would do to the program that they're proposing. And yeah, they could move the house 2 feet forward, but that's not really going to do anything for the tree. But in the interest of giving commissioners there an opportunity to comment, I'll withdraw my motion and make a new motion that we bring this back on the action calendar.
I will second that motion as well.
Great. So we have a modified motion by Commissioner Sargent and a second by Commissioner Loftus. And we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Gall.
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus.
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent.
Aye.
Acting Chair Schmid.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 4-0-0-3, and that is not appealable.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're circling back now to item 8C on our agenda, 30 Ingold Road. And let's see, were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Okay, hearing none, let the record note that all commissioners.
Actually, I sorry,
no worries,
Mr. Chair. I actually met via video link with the applicant to get a presentation on the revisions to the project.
Great.
And I did not meet with the applicant, but I confirmed by text with the applicant today I had no questions that required such a meeting.
And I will note the same. I too had a text to the same event. Okay, so with that, can we hear a staff report?
Yes, the proposed application includes construction of a new 298-unit mixed-use residential development with approximately 4,000 square feet of commercial office space on the ground level at 30 Ingold Road, zoned RRMU. The project also includes a public park, which will be dedicated to the city. The following applications are requested for this project: design review, density bonus to allow 75 additional units over the density permitted for Tier 3 developments, density bonus to allow development incentive to facilitate the provision of affordable housing. And this request includes an incentive to allow 25 parking spaces in tandem configuration. Approval of community benefit bonuses for Tier 3 projects. So Tier 3 projects require at least 3 community benefits, and the applicant is proposing the following benefits. The first is affordable housing. The project includes 43 below market rate units. These units will be affordable for low-income households, which is 80% of San Mateo County's area median income, for 55 years. The second community benefit is providing a public plaza, which goes beyond the minimum required. So the project includes 3,470 square feet of publicly accessible plaza area, which is in excess of the 2,250 square foot minimum. And lastly, the project would be providing a publicly accessible park space. The project includes an area of 18,478 square feet of a publicly accessible park. The developer would construct the park and then deed it to the city upon completion of the project. And lastly, a vesting tentative parcel map for the lot split of a portion of the parcel, and this is for the park that's being offered for dedication to the city. Parking for the proposed project is provided in an enclosed garage containing 2 levels of parking. There would be 329 off-street parking spaces for residents, 15 parking spaces for guests, and 14 spaces for the commercial space. This totals 358 parking spaces, where a minimum of 353 spaces are required for this project. Access to the main garage is provided from both Rollins and Ingold Roads. At the Planning Commission Design Review Study meeting on April 27th, the Commission made several suggestions for the project applicant to consider. In a response letter dated September 30th, the applicant provided detailed responses to your comments and also a summary of the changes that were made since the Design Review Study meeting. The applicant also submitted revised plans, date stamped September 30th, a materials board, and sample of the proposed window as the Commission requested. Let's see here. So the actions that are before you this evening are design review, the density bonus, and community benefits, and also a recommendation for the vesting tentative parcel map for lot split. And if we get to that end of that portion of the meeting, you can do that as one motion if you'd like. This concludes my staff report. Before the applicant makes their presentation, are there any questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Loftus.
Yeah, I want to be perfectly clear in my head. This project determination has been made that this project is categorically exempt, and on page 2.1 of the report by ICF, there's a comment that says all exemptions for these classes, as this one is, are inapplicable when the cumulative impact of successive projects of the same type in the same place over time is significant. So this cumulative impact, I just want to understand what that means. Under what, is there maybe I'm just not remembering correctly, is there an area EIR, or how is cumulative impact determined, which is important for this and all other projects in the area?
Sure. Let's see. We do have representatives from ICF here. I believe Ms. Effner is here. Hello. Do you want to respond to that question if you could?
Sure. And CEQA requires that we consider the cumulative impacts, as you mentioned. And the way that we measure the cumulative impact is when we consider sort of all of the development happening in an area. CEQA requires that we consider how this project contributes to an overall cumulative impact. So in this case, due to the fact that the general plan EIR is so fresh and did a very comprehensive cumulative analysis, and this project is consistent with the general plan, we therefore were able to conclude that this project was not contributing to an overall cumulative impact, relying primarily on the analysis that was done in the general plan.
That's perfect. I hope that was the case. I just wanted to be clear in my own head how that was being addressed for this and all future projects in that area. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, then let's move to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project?
Okay. Good evening, planning commissioners. My name is Elaine Breeze with Summerhill Apartment Communities. Actually, do we mind, can you pull up the presentation? Thanks. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. My name is Elaine Breeze with Summerhill Apartment Communities, and we appreciated the feedback at the April design study meeting. The changes we've made in response to them have improved our project, so we really appreciate them. Tonight, we will provide an overview of the changes since April and the project's Tier 3 community benefits. Chuck Tang of Studio T Architects will present the design changes, and April Phillips Design Group, BKF Engineers, and my colleague Richard Norris are available to answer questions as well. Next, please. As we reviewed last April, our planning approach to the site was to be consistent with the new general plan, consistent with the Rollins Road mixed-use interim standards, and then also to provide affordable housing consistent with the city's density bonus ordinance and state density bonus. As the staff report outlines, we've requested one concession for the 25 tandem parking stalls. Next, please. We also considered the existing site conditions. We wanted to develop a design that would preserve existing redwood trees on site, accommodate the existing uses and the site's 100-year flood map designation, and just the overall surrounding site uses. As part of that process, we met early with Parks and Rec to determine where would be the best place to put the park. And as staff outlined, we hosted a neighborhood meeting in November 2019 and have also met with the Riggs Distributing next door and reached out to Good Charred Chocolate as well. Next, please. Our September 2020 letter outlines the changes we have made since April. The comments that we received are summarized here. Adding bike storage closer to the BART Caltrain station, visually reducing the scale of the openings both at Rollins and Ingold Road, providing more greenery at the corner of Rollins and Ingold Road, improving ground level lighting, increasing the capacity for electric vehicles, and then from a planning standpoint, providing a perspective of the northeast corner from Rollins Road, and then providing more detail of Redwood Plaza. So now I'd like to turn it over to Chek Tang, who will review our changes.
Next, please. Good evening. Thank you, commissioners. First of all, thank you for the comments from our last hearing. I hope you can see the changes that we highlight tonight and we've taken to heart. But it's really important that we frame kind of the basic notion about this project. Having great kind of urban design is the gate framework for good architecture. So that's always been our premise with this project, starting with beautiful kind of open spaces, public spaces, and then also a very pedestrian experience around, and then concealing the garage obviously is a very big part of the Rollins Road plan. Before we leave the site plan, I want to highlight some major changes that we've heard that I think it makes a huge impact, design impact to the project. First of all, pleased to report back that we're able to add additional 18 EV compatible stalls in the garage that you can see on the north side here. The other thing that is very important is also the relocation of the bike parking in the previous Wi-Fi lounge locations to the south. We actually pulled it toward the northeast corner as was proposed by the commission last time to make easy access to the BART station. Next, please. Just to kind of highlight the high level, the organization of the project, not only is the open spaces, public open spaces important, but we also have private open spaces within the project that really organize the project. And then as you can see how those also articulate the vertical modulations of the building to make it a very authentic building. And then next, please. As you translate that to the 3D, again, we have very substantial changes in roof heights and massing to articulate each component of the building. And so you can see there's a substantial kind of ticking off of the upper floor to create that roof line difference, and also layering back. We're still retaining that roof deck overseeing the park for activation, not only at the ground level, but at the higher level as well. With that, I'm going to go over the quickly the design changes. Next, please. The first design changes on the northeast corner driveway entry. We were able to minimize this entry drive by 2 feet. Like I mentioned, the relocation of the bike cafe parking storage areas right here by the lobbies with easy access from the residents upstairs, pick up their bikes and be on their way to the BART station. There's also a storage space upstairs. Again, if there's a scooter or whatever, they can actually pick that up and be on their way as well. You can see the new EV compatible stalls here to the left. Another thing that I think from a pedestrian experience point of view, what we've done is creating the hardscape in the same kind of concrete finishes as the sidewalk, so that as you cross this driveway, it doesn't feel like asphalt kind of a river. It really becomes part of that whole pedestrian experience. Next, please. So this is the perspective looking at the project in the north east corner. And as you can see, there's really no backside to this project at all. And this is what we're doing in terms of the kind of scaling down the opening. If you can zoom in, next slide, please. That what we've done is kind of expanded the storefront along the lobby area. And you can see that further back is that's where the bike storage would be. So it's very easy access to the lobby and access to the BART station. What we've done is also slightly enlarge kind of the expanse of the wood materials that is part of this overall opening, and then creating this canopy condition for the parking signage as well. So kind of giving this a little bit more pedestrian scale and not as much of a garage kind of entry. Next, please. On the corner, one of the things that we did explore the notion of bulb out, but given that the geometry really didn't work in this particular condition, what we've tried to do is really start to make this upper and lower plaza much less hardscape. I think the comment was to soften this up and to kind of green this up. So we've kind of pulled both the parkway along the street edges as well as the upper planters to narrow down this stairs, as well as minimizing the plaza and the lower level as well. If you can look at the next slide, it kind of give you a sense of that layering effect, both on Angold and on Rollins Road. And if you zoom in, you can see what we've done here. Next slide, please. That you can see that there's actually additional layering, three-dimensional layering between the parkway being pulled closer to the corner. The planter boxes also pull closer to the corner, so it kind of minimized the amount of hardscape and the stairs that we used to have here. The other thing that we've done is actually set this lobby entrance back by another 12 inches, so further giving more dimensions in the upper plaza as well. Next, please. Another comments that came through was on the driveway entries on the angle side. And one of the things that we've done here is really modulate the plan. Not only did we change up the width of the stair by 4 feet, we actually changed the circulation of the stair. Instead of coming off the side to the driveway side, actually come directly out toward the Redwood Plaza. So it really starts to activate that plaza, because I would suspect that a lot of people is going to be using stairs to get down to the plaza level. And then what that does, it allows us to narrow up the driveway, as well as kind of creating this green parkway to separate, to create the separation of the driveway. Again, using the same concrete finish on the paving to tie in with the existing sidewalk. Next, please. Not only did we take 4 foot out of this kind of this opening to change the proportion, the vertical proportion, what we've done is also added, again, the kind of same cues as what we've done on the Rollins Road side, creating a canopy for signage, but also visually allowing this vertical piece to terminate on the horizontal line. You can see here on the left that this is the stair that comes down and directly access the Redwood Plaza here. And then the concrete paving that ties in with the sidewalks. Next, please. The Redwood Plaza, there was a question, how does this seating, is it really looking outward? One of the things that we're pleased to report is we were able to get rid of the bike parking here. So now the entire frontage from this lobby all the way to this access from the upper stair now have kind of a glass opening. There's a very good interface between the indoor and outdoor. The seatings up against the wall actually looks back onto this kind of a bench, a retaining wall bench conditions along the existing redwood trees here. So there's really a lot of interaction between the seating along the wall as well as the bench, the kind of the park bench along the edge. And as you can see, there's also several access from different points into this Redwood Plaza as well on the slide on the left. Next, please. Just a quick summary of the material. There's a physical material boards now sitting in City Hall that you can take a look. The material exhibits in your package is a lot more detailed in terms of how we articulate the materials and colors. As we mentioned earlier, we've kind of created these really clear kit of parts and even the detailing and material finishes on the building. And then especially on the ground plane, we use very unique materials like this kind of rustic metal panel on the corner, and then also porcelain tiles on the base of the building. That's kind of a general overview of the major changes we made. And Elaine, next please.
Thank you, Jack. So our pedestrian improvements are consistent along both Rollins Road and Ingold Road, are consistent with the mixed-use zoning. Those include a 5-foot planter strip along Rollins with street trees, and then a 10-foot sidewalk. And then as we come around Ingold, we have a 6-foot sidewalk and a 4-foot planter strip. All of the trees will be 48-inch box trees. We'll also be putting in a new crosswalk across Ingold Road, you can see at the bottom. And then all the street lighting around the project frontage will be upgraded and added to meet pedestrian levels on the front project frontages as well. Next, please. One of the new project benefits since the April meeting is that we've been working with staff on is we analyzed the existing street lighting from the project to the Millbrae border and determined that it didn't meet the city's pedestrian standards. So as a result, as part of the project, we'll be replacing the existing street light heads on both sides of Rollins to bring up the lighting level to the city's pedestrian standard on the west side from the project to the Millbrae border. We'll be doing that as part of the project. Next, please. And with regard to the tier 3 community benefits, as the staff report outlined, we have 43 new affordable homes. That's about 14% of the project at 80% of the area AMI. Those will be deed restricted for 55 years as opposed to the 30 years that's required. We have a 0.4 acre dedicated city park that we will build as part of the project and then dedicate to the to the city in fee that they would own and maintain. And then lastly, the 3,400 square foot public pedestrian plaza, which will preserve the existing redwoods on the site and provide another public space for gathering. Next, please. Here is a view of the city park from Ingold Road. You can see the 6 redwood trees on the left to be preserved, and then the redwood plaza is on the right. And we have residences fronting onto the park and a large lawn with plenty of gathering areas. So this would be designed as a City of Burlingame Park, you know, with all the familiar signage, meet the lighting levels, bike racks, etc. And as noted, since April, the park was reviewed by the Parks and Rec Commission as well. Next, please. This is a plan view of the city park with the various amenities. They include an entertaining area with a trellis, string lighting, built-in table seating. We have a picnic area, separate outdoor ping pong and cornhole. There's a 5-station outdoor fitness circuit on the north side, and then oversized lounge seating on the lawn area as well. Next, please. This is the Redwood Plaza, which Chuck has already described. That's mid-block on Ingold Road. It too is publicly accessible, but will be privately maintained. And again, designed to preserve 8 of the redwoods on site and provide another outdoor gathering space. It will include fixed tables and chairs, modular benches, bike parking, decorative pavers, and architectural lighting. Next, please. So in conclusion, the 30 Ingold project is consistent with the general plan and zoning. It provides the tier 3 community benefits required, provides new high quality housing, including 43 affordable units and a new city park in this new live work neighborhood. We have reviewed and accept the conditions of approval as proposed, and we request your approval tonight. And we also request the opportunity to provide a response at the end of public comments. Thank you, and are available for any questions.
Great, thank you. So commissioners, are there any questions for the applicant at this time? Commissioner Loftus.
Yeah, a couple of simple questions. I'm really happy that you're upgrading the lighting to the Millbrae border, which I believe is Murchison, right? So you don't quite make it to Millbrae Ave. It goes to Murchison, and then at that point, the city of Millbrae has it to take care of, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, it's Adrian is, so where the creek channel is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Adrian is the road where it transitions to Millbrae,
Okay, yeah,
where STEM is located.
yeah. Not much that can be done about that. That's good though that it's being upgraded. It's just, it'll be a little bit funny maybe, or maybe it won't even be noticeable. A question on the, I want to make sure I am right about my understanding of the materials at City Hall. The window that was provided, the vinyl window that was provided was in white, but the proposed color of the window is black, right?
The window is black, but the window that was provided actually was black. So I wonder if you were looking at someone else's window.
Maybe I thought it was in the same box, and I thought maybe the vinyl window sample itself was for this project. But
There's a possibility you might be looking at the inside of that window.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
It's white on the inside and black on the outside.
Okay. I thought I leaned it back and forth, but okay, that's good. So it's black on the outside. And then the storefront obviously is not vinyl, it's aluminum storefront, and it's also black, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. One other really minor sort of silly question on the Ingold Road elevation above the parking entry. There in the glazing above, there are sort of 3 colored ribbon things going on. Is that something behind the?
So that was just to illustrate that those will be corridors in the building that our interior designers will have some fun with.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure what to make of those.
It's a placeholder, but good question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if it was something special going on that needed to be called out. Okay, that was. Thank you. That's all the questions I've got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Other commissioners? Okay, not seeing any more hands. Then I will open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this time? Okay. Great. Then do we have any chats, emails, or other ways?
We have received no chats and no emails for this application.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments? Commissioner Loftus.
Yes, thank you. I'll start. I really liked this project the first time around. I think it does really, it establishes some important urban design standards and characteristics for a future neighborhood. And the architecture sets up those urban design standards well, I believe. I think it's a really well-crafted project. Thank you for addressing the issues that were raised. I think it's improved it in every way, though I don't think it needed a whole lot of improvement. So well done.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gall.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Loftus. I think this is a great project, especially for this area in getting it kind of a kickstart into our Northern Rollins Road redevelopment and establishing a newer neighborhood in Burlingame. I'm really excited about a new park for the city of Burlingame, and I'm hoping that the rest of the residents of the city know about it and are able to use it. I think it's a great project, very well designed, and I'm looking forward to getting this thing off the ground.
Okay, Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is a great project. It's really exciting for this area of town, and I look forward to seeing it built and what follows on after it.
Okay, and I too feel it's a really good project. I liked it the last time I saw it, and I think that you did a really nice job of addressing the requests, and I think that the presentation really speaks highly of the quality of the work that we're going to get from this project, and I think that you guys did a really great job of just orchestrating this presentation for us. So thank you very much. Okay, so commissioners, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I can try to craft a motion. This is one of those moments where I wish Commissioner Toronis were here because he's so good at just sort of digging in and saying it all. But so my understanding is we need to approve the design, because there's requests for design review, and the parcel map. And
as I understand it, we're approving the action item for the entitlements and recommending the parcel change to the council.
yeah, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the project as per the the recommended findings. It appears to me that we can make all the findings, that the parcel map is consistent with the general plan and subdivision map act, et cetera, et cetera. So I will move that we approve the project.
I'll second that.
Great. So we have a motion from Commissioner Loftus and a second from Commissioner Gall. Any discussion?
I had a question for staff. Can we approve all this, or do we have to recommend the parcel map to the city council?
Right, so the approval would be for the design review, the density bonus, the community benefit. Then the recommendation would be for the vesting tentative parcel map, because that has to go to council for approval. So you could do all that in one fell swoop, just designating that the parcel map is a recommendation to city council.
And that's what I intended in my motion, my inchoate motion, is exactly all of that stuff.
I heard that coming out of you. It's just, yeah, we got it.
That's why I seconded it, because I knew what he was talking about.
So then, given that we have a really good motion and a really good second,
right?
Can we have a vote?
Sure. Commissioner Gall.
Aye.
Commissioner Loftus.
Aye.
Commissioner Sargent.
Aye.
Acting Chair Schmid.
Aye.
The motion passes 4-0-0-3. And it is.
I get to read?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Action by the Planning Commission is appealable by the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day of the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $1,075, which includes notice and costs. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes our action items and our design review study items. So moving on to item number 10, Commissioners' reports. I don't believe we have any, right, gentlemen? Nope. Okay, so then moving on to item number 11, Director's reports.
Sure. So there are no FYI items tonight. However, I did want to just summarize what happened at the October 5th City Council meeting. So number one, the project at 1214 Donnelly Avenue and the associated amendment to the zoning code, as well as amendment to the downtown specific plan, was adopted at that meeting. So that project hopefully we'll move forward now to the construction drawing stage. Two other items. There was council considered modifying the construction hours in the North Rollins Road mixed use district, the innovation industrial district, and commercial districts to allow construction starting times at 7 a.m. Rather than 8 a.m. This change would only apply to these districts since they don't currently have any residents living there. Also includes provisions to request exceptions to construction hours for exceptional circumstances, other districts, and allowance to do work in fully enclosed buildings at any time. Again, the concern here was noise. An ordinance was introduced. Council members wanted some additional changes, so it will be reintroduced on October 19th. And then the other item they discussed was whether or not to allow cannabis sales and delivery operations in response to a proposal from an operator. Proposal is to allow the use in an industrial area with no public retail component. So this item will return to the council in the future for further discussion once we have more information on that. So those are the items that were kind of highlighted from the October 5th meeting, and that's all I had.
Great, thank you very much. So I believe that gets us through our agenda.
I think it does. And I wanted to also thank Commissioner Schmid for being acting chair today. His first go around, so now he's got experience and he did an awesome job. Thank you for getting us through the agenda, and thank you all too for giving him your support.
Thank
And,
you for making it easy.
Thank you guys.
Yep, meeting adjourned, 8:45.
We'll adjourn this meeting at 8:45. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.